Recently, I just finished watching Avengers Endgame, and I have to say, it was an amazing movie. Every scene was just awesome, and I don't want to say I felt nostalgic for a film series that only has been around for 10 years, but trust me, I felt nostalgic. But basically, I just wanted to talk about one thing about Endgame that I just didn't like, one thing that just didn't fit in with the rest, and one thing that almost made the movie seem, I don't want to say subpar, but it just lessened the movie somehow. What is that thing I'm talking about? And it's not a thing, it's a character. Captain Marvel. Unless you've been living in a cave for the past like 1 or 2 years, you should probably know about one of the characters that the MCU has put out, and that's Captain Marvel. Originally, Captain Marvel was supposed to be this character like that had like one appearance and like was supposed to just they made a side movie for her just so she could show up in Endgame. But even when she did show up in Endgame, she didn't actually do anything. But I'll talk about that later. Really, right now, all I wanted to talk about was her character development. Her character development, for lack of better terms, is hot garbage. For instance, you actually don't get any character development out of her, or at least not a lot that's relatable. For one, that's something that's really you need to have in order to make a character that people will enjoy watching on screen. She wasn't human. I don't want to say she wasn't human, because obviously she was, her character. But I mean, like the way she acted. But I guess it goes that into acting. But still, her character development wasn't at all like good. Really, the Captain Marvel movie in and of itself was just a bunch of 90s references slapped together, empowerment themes, and then, one or two, references to Nick Fury's past or something. Really, it's not anything important or anything. It's just a movie that you can put on in the background, while you're doing homework or something. Even then, it's not even that good of a movie to put on. And I guess that's why I don't really think that it made sense to put her in Endgame, because we don't really understand her and her character. Of course, you could always just, say, well, look at all these other characters who only had like one movie before they were put in Endgame. Well, yes, but they were also put in Infinity War, like, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. But even then, we only got to see them like a few times, but still, they're way more developed and way more relatable than Captain Marvel in their own movies. For instance, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he's a teenager at a school, and all of a sudden he gets powers. He becomes a hero, and he uses powers for good. Like, we see the struggles he goes through, and we know that that's relatable, especially for someone like me who is a teen. And then you have Doctor Strange, who, he is relatable because, he used to be this arrogant surgeon, prime peak of his life, and then, it all fell away when he got into an accident, and he had to rebuild himself and find himself again. That, I'm sure that's relatable to a lot of people. But Captain Marvel, there is no there's a market for Captain Marvel fans and people who may want to look up to Captain Marvel, obviously, but they failed to market to that market. Is that redundant? Market to that market? But no, seriously, they instead of making her a strong character, they just said, look at her, she's always right. She can, if you she defies all reason by just blasting you with her hands. Say something stupid, she'll just blast you, bam. That's pretty cool, right? And of course, there are the people who are gonna eat it up and go, that's great, that's such a good character, thanks, man. But really, it's just one of the many reasons why her character development it does not work, and why she really doesn't make an impact in Endgame. The second reason I was going to talk about was, I guess this isn't really an issue, it's kind of petty to talk about, but really it was her acting. Brie Larson in both Captain Marvel and in Endgame kind of has I don't want to say subpar, because that would be rude, but let's just say she doesn't have the best acting for a superhero movie. Like, every line she does comes off as kind of like stalled and or halted, I guess would be a good word. But really, it's just that's another issue I had with it. Like, there are a lot of people out there who aren't good actors. Like, I can probably name a lot of Marvel actors who aren't that good at their job. But right now, I'm thinking about how Captain Marvel, her lines just come off as awkward. Like, I don't want to. And this is gonna come off as mean, but when she delivers a line, especially in her own solo movie, I just felt like I just kind of cringed in my seat, especially at the end of the movie where she was like supposed to do some friendly, like, okay, I take that back. Any type of conversation she has with Nick Fury during Captain Marvel, where they're supposed to have banter or something, it just comes off as ha ha, ha ha ha. So, how about that? A slight insult slash roast. Oh, ha ha ha, look at me, ha ha ha. It doesn't make any sense, It's just weird. The acting and the. But of course, I guess this is one thing I really can't talk about, because one, I'm not a professional actor, first of all. And second of all, like, even if I was, I can understand it's probably hard to, constantly be in a spandex suit, pretending like you're flying, and act like. And then be expected to act like a normal human being with all the irritation, but then I don't know. It's just all I'm saying is that, like, she probably could have done a better job. And then I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently some of the Avengers cast actually didn't like working with her. Like, they actually disliked it. I don't know. I don't think that's real or not. Maybe it is. Even if it was, that'd be kind of rude, I guess. But still, yeah. And of course, my biggest issue, the one that's everyone's just been waiting for, the one that I've just been waiting to get on, is her involvement in the movie itself. Okay, so I want to start this off by saying Captain Marvel shows up, basically she shows up at only 3 moments in the entire movie. In the beginning, when she saves Tony Stark. In the middle, for no apparent reason at all, but just to, like, space Skype Black Widow or something. And then in the end, when she suddenly destroys Thanos' ship, and saves the day, like some sort of Deus Ex Machina, And I really had an issue with that, because in all the posters that they advertise, and all the trailers and all that, and even in Captain Marvel itself, or in Infinity War in the post-credits scene, she was advertised as some big part of Endgame. She was going to be, like, so important. But then she ended up only showing up, like, on a few points in the movie. And even then, like, when she did show up, she either, impacted a little bit, or she impacted a lot for no reason, just out of nowhere. But really, I think that's kind of funny that they led up to her appearance, and then just out of nowhere, just like, oh yeah, by the way, guess what? She's not gonna showing up in the movie a lot, and it brings up it brings up the question. I was thinking, if she only showed up like at least 3 times during the movie, how much did she get paid, Brie Larson? Unless she got paid the standard amount, and then like they just edited scenes for her. I don't know. I honestly I don't work at Marvel. It's not like I know what's going on behind their process, but still. That's really an issue I had. Like, she doesn't show up the entire movie, and when she does, she suddenly saves the day as some sort of Deus Ex Machina. Look, see, she is important. So, your money isn't wasted, okay? And, and I guess she didn't even show up during vital moments. Like, the only important moment she showed up in I would say, maybe the first one, but the only one she really showed up on was the third moment when she saved them all from Thanos' ship, which, come on, they could have done that, but whatever, not gonna get into it, but like the third issue, like that, I mean the third time she shows up, like that's really the only times that she's actually important. Meanwhile, she's not involved in the time jumping, she isn't anywhere near Black Widow's funeral, which of course makes sense. She shows up for Tony Stark's funeral, like, and I guess it makes sense. She doesn't actually know them because she was in space for like 20 years or something. But like, the least they could do is put her in some like parts of the movie, so at least it seems fluid instead of just take her out, wait a little bit, okay, now let's put her back in. It's stupid almost. But those are just my thoughts on Avengers Endgame, and of course it's glaring red zit. I'll call it that. Avengers Endgame's red zit. But those are just my thoughts on it. Feel free to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Guys, don't get lost in the haze.